drawing. Drawing is everything when it comes to visual arts, and everything is drawing. I've been teaching art for almost 30 years now, and over the past decades, I've had various people approach me looking for lessons. They've been painting on their own and doing some work, and they find, oh, you're an art teacher here in my studio at maybe an art show opening or in the grocery store. Oh, I hear you teach art. I paint. Maybe I could have some lessons. And so I'll look at their work. They used to come to the studio and show me their work. Nowadays, everybody has their portfolio on their phone. Here's my work right here. Um, and invariably, what I see is that they have just no concept of the formal aspects of making visual images. There's no understanding of composition, how to organize the forms within the frame of the picture. There's no understanding of values, lights and darks, value relationships, how to make the illusion of space, proportion, perspective. And I'll say, okay, obviously you're working, you're doing something, you're putting the time in. I can help you. I can help you with this. The first thing you need to do is you need to learn how to draw. And more often than you might believe, maybe you would, they respond with this: I don't want to draw, I want to paint. I don't even know what that means. Drawing is the fundamental core of everything we do. It's the beginning and it's the end of all visual art making. When we draw, essentially what we're doing is we're trying to take some kind of a concept, a thought, an idea, a sensory perception, something we see, something we hear, something we feel. Maybe it's a story we're trying to tell. Maybe it's a memory. Maybe it's a fantasy, but it's some kind of an intangible entity that we're trying to translate into form. We're trying to make the intangible tangible. Why? So we can share it with other people. If you don't want to share your feelings, your thoughts, your ideas, your sensations, your memories, your fantasies, whatever, with other people, then why make art? Just keep it in your head. And essentially, that's what drawing is. It's engaging with the subject, whatever the subject may be, and trying to find a way to turn our experience with that subject into some kind of visual form using the language that we have at our disposal: lines, shapes, values, textures, scale, proportions, space, etc. Um, that's really what we're doing when we're drawing. Now, if you're a beginner, your idea may just be to show the viewer what something looks like. Your drawing teacher puts an apple on the table, and your mission is to make some kind of visual form that looks like an apple, so that when people look at it, they see, oh, it's an apple. I see that, it's an apple. And as you develop more skill, you may want to be more specific about the apple. Maybe it's Granny Smith. I like Granny Smiths. I eat one every day, actually. So now you have to think about, okay, how can I manipulate my materials to not just say apple, but to say Granny Smith apple? And as you progress, you may want to introduce more content into your image. Maybe, like me, you really like Granny Smith's apples, and you want that to be in the image. You want people to look at the image and know how much you love Granny Smith apples. How do you do that? How do you convey that in the drawing? How do you transcend just making it look like an apple and having it be something personal? And that's really what drawing is. It's trying to figure that out. And oftentimes people make the mistake, especially beginners, of thinking that drawing is a end result oriented sort of activity, that we're drawing because I'm trying to make a thing. I'm trying to make a picture. I'm trying to make art. I'm making a thing. And the act of drawing is simply a means to the end. I want to make a drawing. I'm going to do this, and then I'll have a drawing. But really, I think that's a mistake. I think it's important to think of drawing not as a results based activity, but as a process in and of itself, as a learning process, as a process of you being engaged with your subject as well as yourself. Not just trying to understand the subject that you're trying to draw, but trying to understand your own relationship to it. How does it make me feel? Why am I doing this? Why am I making this picture in the first place? And if you think of if you think of drawing as a results based activity, then it's very easy to fail. You sit down to make a drawing. Okay, I'm going to make a drawing of this dog or this horse or this tree or this dream that I had, and you do your best to execute it, and maybe it doesn't work. Maybe you don't have the skill, you don't have the ability. Maybe you tried something and it didn't work. Um, and so, because you were focused on the end result, it can be very easy to think, I failed, I didn't succeed. But if you focus on the process itself, then the end result really doesn't matter. And if you sit down with your drawing materials and you try to make this image that represents whatever it is you're trying to convey, and the end result doesn't work, you do it again. You make another drawing. And maybe you have to make 10 or 110 drawings of that particular subject before you figure out how to do it successfully. And if you focus on the process, there really aren't any failures. They're just steps. They're just steps on the journey to the image. But if you're thinking about making a picture, making art, making a thing that I'm going to show people and they're going to say, "Wow, you're really talented," then you're setting yourself up for failure. I think it's important to realize that drawing is a process, first and foremost. And it's why we have to draw all the time. All the other art forms are drawing. Painting is drawing. You're just drawing with paint. In whatever medium you're using, even if you're sculpting, I mean, that's what you're doing. You're let's say you're working with clay. You're trying to make a visual form that represents some kind of a concept. That's what you're doing. That's what drawing is. And you're dealing with the same issues. So whether you're using watercolor, oil paint, clay, chocolate syrup, salt. I saw a guy dump a salt shaker on a table one time and make art with it. Salt art. No matter what your medium is, essentially you're drawing. And so it's important to draw all the time, to draw as much as possible. Get a sketchbook, carry some paper with you, keep a pencil or a pen in your pocket or whatever. It doesn't even matter what you draw with. I saw a show once in New York City of drawings by Alberto Giacometti. Great, brilliant artist. Look him up if you don't know who he is. And they were done in ballpoint pen and whatever, and on napkins, newspapers. He just drew on whatever he had at hand. It doesn't have to be a $30 sketchbook from the art supply store and a $5 pencil. You can draw with anything. I composed a picture once in the dirt with a stick. I was out running and I saw this scene that I knew there was an image there, and I stopped. I picked up a twig and I worked out the composition in the dirt on the side of the road, and enough that I was able to figure out the basic relationships and come back to the studio and make a painting on it. And that's really what drawing is. So you really need to draw all the time, and don't think of it as a results-based activity. Think about it as a process. It's a learning process. It's a self-development project. You should be drawing all the time. And if you want to paint but you don't want to draw, I would posit that maybe you don't really want to make art. Maybe if you just want to paint and you don't want to draw, you should be painting houses, not pictures. But the rest of you, they want to make art. Draw, draw every day. Go out there and do it. Just draw, draw, draw. Don't stop. Draw as much as you can. Embrace it. Love it. Do it whenever you have an opportunity. And the more you draw, the better you'll get at translating your thoughts, feelings, memories, ideas, whatever, into visual form. And when you can do that, then you can make art. Okay, go to it. Until next time, I'm Frank. Don't forget to like my video, subscribe, share it with your friends, and draw.